And we're live.
What?
What's going on, everyone?
Have we told people we're going live yet? Do people know?
We're live.
I put a post out that we're going live at noon.
Okay. I'm going to put something
And
out.
I think my mic just went.
No, it sounds
No,
okay.
you're good.
Okay.
Somebody's watching, so they know.
Only one person is.
It's all orange, so that usually doesn't mean good things, but okay.
Oh, yeah, it sounds okay.
We are live.
So much happening. So much.
Really?
Is there?
Yep. And some stuff we might have to save till later to talk about because there's so much to talk about. So
Well,
where do we start?
First, let's start with workouts. Did everyone work out today? Scott?
Yes, because there's a workout for Natalie, who's my daughter, and it's her birthday. She's 17 today.
Awesome.
This is her workout. I'll tell you real quick. 7 rounds of 7 wall balls, 5 handstand push-ups, and 7 hang power cleans.
Ooh, I like that.
It's spicy and sneaky, just like her. So
Yeah, I love it. My mom's birthday was yesterday.
cool.
So we got some cancer birthdays.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I have, it looks like I engage in some kinky stuff because I've got these like hickey marks on my wrists. Oh, hold on.
Okay.
How do I do this?
Kettlebell.
No, it's from my grips. So I had grips on this morning, but I also wear all these elastic bands on my wrists. And so the grips grabbed onto the elastic bands, and now it looks like I'm either hurting myself or somebody like tied rope around my wrists.
Hey, whatever you gotta do.
Anyway, oh, hi. Why am I here? Thanks. Okay, there we go.
I accidentally did that. Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So yeah, that was fun. We did, what did we do today? We did some gymnastics primers to start with, and then we did a classic 21-15-9 power cleans box jumps, and then a 30 pull-up cash out, just for fun.
I like that.
It was let's see how our high school gymnastics feels after we're really, really tired.
Yeah.
So that was fun. It was good. And I got to jump in with a couple people. So that's always good.
Well, Charlie didn't show up this morning, but I was told he would do Natalie's workout today or tomorrow.
That is correct.
Cool. And Scott, are you on board for, I guess now is when you'd be there, huh?
Hi, Ash.
Yeah.
Today's your rest day?
Well, the gym doesn't have a noon class on Thursdays.
Okay.
So for the summer, they got rid of the 2 classes that I could go to, the 7 a.m. and the noon.
I think I remember you have some equipment in your garage you could use.
Well, I just make Thursday my rest day because I can't go.
It's weird. Why would they close it in the summer?
Recovery is important. Recovery is important.
Murph thinks so too.
Even Mark doesn't like it.
All right. So what do we want to talk about first? There's two big stories that I can think of, or 2 big pieces of information. One is Nycolas Joyal, who was supposed to be our guest right now on our podcast. And
that he was.
And Sevon stole him from us. So that happened already this morning, if anybody watched it. And there's lots of nuggets to talk about. And then, of course, the Underdogs, Danielle Brandon, everybody jumping to conclusions there as well. So what do you think? Let's talk about the Nycolas thing just because it's fresh on my mind. Did anyone else get to see it? Charlie, you said you saw a little bit of it?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw the whole thing. And what was really cool was that I got to, I actually asked some questions that actually got asked. So that was neat. I mean, you know, my comments didn't go on the board or anything, but Sevon got to them eventually, which was cool. So he was notified 2 days ago from CrossFit that he popped. He popped for GW501516 and Osterin.
Yeah.
And so he knew he was taking the GW501516. He did not say anything about the Osterin except that it sounds like he's going with my GW501516 must have been contaminated with Osterin. So, super frustrating.
So my
that we can't-
PED is contaminated with a PED.
Yeah. So
How is it
I'm
that none
admitting
of
to
us are
this.
able to get these contaminated supplements? I mean, they're just so rampant for everybody else. Why aren't we that lucky?
Oh, we can.
I mean,
it was very unfortunate. And Sevon asked a question afterwards too, like, why wouldn't he have just come clean with everything, and why was it just this one thing and not everything? And Andrew Hiller made an analogy of like, well, if you're cheating on your wife with 4 people, does she really need to know about the other 3, or do you just, yes, I'm cheating with one and be done with it? So I don't know. We didn't get a chance to ask him that. He's probably not going to address it, but it reminds me of the Stephen Wallace comment too, where he said that he popped for Osterin and had never heard of it. And I just, I think anyone in this sport obviously has heard about it and knows what it is. So I don't know, but
what was
I guess,
his excuse for using it?
So Nycolas was talking a little bit about the fact that he wanted an edge and he was feeling a little down on his fitness. He wasn't happy with how he placed in the open in like the first 2 weeks, and he felt like his engine was really lacking. He felt like he was out of shape. He felt, quote unquote, like fat and, not sort of the body that he wanted. And he had done some research or known a little bit about, this wonder drug in the past, and decided to buy it and take it.
So he just wasn't good enough. So he used something to get better. So he still wouldn't have been good enough unless he had that.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say that he noticed that much difference in taking it. But how can you? I don't. How do you speak to that at this point? Like, it's too late.
How do you say I wasn't good enough, so I took it, and then you just so happened to be good enough,
right,
to make the games?
Right.
So there has to be an effect.
Yeah.
The other thing is, he did say that he is 28, and he has been at this for like 10 years, and just missing the games over and over and over again. And in his statement, because I did not see the Sevon thing, he talked about how that mentally got to him over 10 years of just missing. And that's why he took the gamble.
Yeah. And he took it on purpose for 2 weeks because he, investigated Half-Life and all that kind of stuff, and, didn't want to get caught. He talked about the fact that he didn't really think about it when he was on the podium. He didn't really think about it when he was being drug tested. But it came to light in a couple different ways. So he saw Hiller's video on Shoe Fly, and he said he wanted to throw up because he heard about some of the side effects of what he had taken, and he heard, that they popped for it, and that he was, really nervous about also popping for it. And then, he got the email and immediately knew, what was going on. And he's not appealing. And in 72 hours from Tuesday night, CrossFit will make an announcement and hopefully backfill with Austin Spencer for the CrossFit Games.
Wow.
And just for transparency, we did have Nycolas Joyal scheduled for this time frame. Correct. I did ask him if he wanted to come on. He told me that he was doing Sevon, and then he was going dark from every social media thing after that.
I can respect that.
Yeah. And by the sounds of it, it seemed as though his talk with Sevon was scheduled already as well. Because Sevon typically does 10 a.m. Podcasts. And I think the story was that he reached out to them, like Matt Souza, and said, "Hey, I just popped. Do you still want me on?" And they were like, yeah. Even better. But so I don't know if he was going to do their show and then our show back to back like that. Maybe, today's a rest day. It was his day to sort of do his press, run for the games, which is fine. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And you're right, Yash. He was doing the math sort of like, okay, Jalen popped for it. This is when he stopped taking it, because Jalen told us when he stopped taking it, and this is when he competed, and he was kind of like doing the math and thinking like, oh, I could be screwed here. And it's because, you know, it hasn't been tested enough to really know how long it stays in your system for. And clearly, a lot of athletes are miscalculating that and getting caught.
Well, in the research I did on the, go ahead, Charlie.
I was just saying a lot of athletes seem to be taking it. So something.
Yeah, because like on paper, it looks like the miracle pill for CrossFitters, right? You know, lose a little body fat, you can convert some dietary fat into energy, and you know, your engine becomes much better. I mean, that's what a lot of people struggle with in CrossFit anyway. You can be really strong, you can be really good at the movements, but you got to be good at doing them for long periods of time and not bonking out.
So what people are missing is they're looking at the half-life, and because the research was stopped and on the contaminated or the cancer forming on the rats, they did not study it long enough to get the true half-life. So everything is an estimate. Yep. So everybody's going by these estimates online, and they're probably not right.
Wait, yep. So the information they're getting online is not always correct? It's fascinating.
That is correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about it, it's a huge gamble. You know, the risks. I mean, he even said this. He said that he knew the risks, and they did not outweigh what he perceived to be the reward. Mm. And so, you know, you got to be in an interesting headspace to be okay with risking cancer for getting to the CrossFit Games. You know, I mean, and I'm oversimplifying, obviously, but that's just kind of how that goes. So,
well, that is not true, Andrew. It's only what you hear on our show. It's 100% true.
Exactly.
One interesting thing. Well, are you guys done with that? Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys read the USA Today article that came out yesterday talking about the CrossFit Games and CrossFit?
No.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
USA Today. So it was just talking about like there's 400,000 people around the world that compete in CrossFit, and there's 12,000 or some odd affiliates, and then it goes in. They interview Matt Fraser, and they just talk about like what is the CrossFit Games and more of that aspect. I mean, a little bit about just kind of CrossFit in general, and then more about what are the games, which I just thought was great, because I think it's great for our sport, because on which I was going to go to later, but the documentary that just came out, I thought this is really only for CrossFit fans. Like if you've never watched the sport, you wouldn't know like what the heck are they doing as far as like why are you cutting people and what are the points? How do you win this? Like there was no background information with it. So I liked how just the article was giving a little bit of background about what the games is, what it's a test of.
That's good. Interesting. They talked to Matt. This is like a current article, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't like they reached
yesterday. Yeah.
So. Good on you, Matt. So Will thinks that if the top dogs were taking this stuff, they would be popping year round. I mean, I guess so. Or there's something else out there that's not being detected, or they're just really better at cycling off, or they're not doing it. And again, I'm not trying to be in the camp of like everyone's doing it, but God, it just sucks every time somebody pops for it.
I feel in my heart, Pat Vellner would never. I just feel that in my heart. And I know there's a lot of others. That's the top one I can think of in my head that says, I don't think he would ever do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's certain people who are just not, like when we were talking to Spencer, he's like, I don't take anything anybody hands me.
Right.
Take anything that's like.
Right. He's not like eating at someone else's house.
Right.
He's
like, nope.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, people that sort of understand the sacrifice for it all, you can't be too careful.
I waver so much because being a sports fan my whole life, I've been disappointed by so many people that I thought it was no way could they.
Lance Armstrong.
Like he was a hero. And he's done so much for so many people. How could he be the one?
Right.
Well, same thing,
Yeah.
That's just it. And I'm not making a statement that I think CrossFitters are on or off. I've just been disappointed too many times to let myself get that far down the road in belief one way or another.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I mean, the email went out on Monday night to Nycolas. Presumably if other people, tested positive during that semifinal, that they also got notified, and they have 72 hours to determine whether they're going to appeal or not. And, 99.9% of the athletes appeal that, they pay the $200, they get their B sample tested. And so it's another week or two before we A, find out about it, or B, somebody talks about it. And then it's that 2 weeks less time for someone else to maybe prepare and go to the games.
Okay, question. Go back for a second. B sample. Yeah. Let's talk about what a B sample is. What is the B sample?
So samples are taken at the time of the drug test.
Okay.
Right? You pee in a cup.
Yep.
You pee in a cup. And I assume somebody takes that pee and puts A sample, B sample.
Okay.
Package it up. Your name's on it. It's your stuff.
Okay.
A sample. Everybody's A sample gets tested.
Okay.
Okay. And then in case of, who knows, I guess it's a backup for if there's, a mismatching of labels or things like that. So say I pop for, testosterone in my sample. I say, I didn't take testosterone. I don't know what you're talking about. Test my B sample. Like, it's got to be wrong. Okay. And so it's more of like you guys messed up. That's not really what was in my urine. Test the B sample. I mean, and then, if the mistake happened, it probably happened with both samples, and, you're not getting away with anything. I think for a lot of people, it's just a way to stall for another couple of weeks to figure out what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And if you have $200, it's worth taking it if you think you maybe can get away with it. I don't know. And I don't know what happens if a B sample comes up negative. Like, then what? You get it? Do you go take a C sample? Like, I don't know what happens after that, because I don't think it happens very often.
Yeah.
So Charlie may remember this. The reason there are B samples is back in the day, there was a baseball player that accused like the UPS guy or the FedEx guy of contaminating his sample from the testing site to the lab.
Yep.
Wow.
And so now they do an A and a B because that guy said it couldn't have been me. It had to be the UPS driver who is. So that's actually why it started. And he was an MVP baseball player who everybody thought was a good guy. One of those that you think that you can believe in, and then you couldn't.
I need to ask Andrew Stinn a quick question. Andrew, will you be judging the CrossFit Crave competition next weekend? Answer that when you get a chance. Need to know. Okay, the Danielle Brandon.
Danielle Brandon and Underdogs have mutually parted ways 4 weeks from the games. Yeah. Go.
Yeah. So she was on, again, Savon podcast on Monday. Mm-hmm. And Savon was asking her some questions about training. She had just gotten back from a weekend in Vermont training with Dallin Pepper and Mal and Matt, and Justin, her coach, was with her that weekend. So absolutely, everybody's on board and doing their thing. And then Savon was asking her, like, hey, I was talking to Justin. He was like singing your praises about how amazing it was. And this is great. He loves you so much. And you can see her sort of like looking around at somebody in the background and like not making an expression. And I knew right then and there, I was like, oh no, something's happened. And he said, wait, are you still at Underdogs? And she just kind of like paused. She said, yes, but it's complicated. And then like Jason Hopper, who was with her that weekend at, Vermont, like did one of these into the camera and was like, almost like, gosh, I know what's going on. I can't believe you just said that, kind of a thing. Yeah. It was really weird. And then Jason kind of put words in her mouth and he said something about boundaries. Uh-huh. And then she sort of agreed with it, but that wasn't her thought. That wasn't what she was trying to say about what was going on. She just said, Andrew just made a comment about judging or about boundaries, and she sort of didn't disagree with them. And then, Savon tried to make it more like, well, is that why Bethany Shadburn left? Is it the same reason? And she's like, no, Bethany's like with her fiance in LA and whatever.
Well, so she indicated that there may be a story from Bethany.
Well, she did. Yeah, she did at first. And then she kind of was just like, well, no, that was always a thing. which I'm glad she did, because
Yeah.
people are jumping to freaking conclusions like crazy. Like everyone's like, oh, she's moving to hard work pays off. Of course, like one weekend with Matt, why wouldn't she? Or Matt's poached her and all this. Like, couldn't be farther from the truth. And full disclosure, like we have personal relationships with these people, right? Like Justin's a friend, Ashley's a friend. I know Danielle like online, like she's an online friend, we talk occasionally. And so, we're put in a tough position when we hear things and know things that are going on behind the scenes that, we're not going to talk about because it's just not professional to like air people's dirty laundry. But I can tell you that, 99.9% of the accusations that are out there, like Justin's a creep and, it was something sexual. Like there's all this crazy shit that people are talking about, like couldn't be further from the truth. And if people did know the truth, it would be so less dramatic and like not even people like, oh, whatever. Okay. Like, so people need to just get over it and, respect everybody's privacy and just move on. People are making a way bigger deal about it than it is, I think.
So one thing that we do know is we actually have an interview with Bethany Shadburn that we have not released, where she talks about why she's moving to California, why that's all happening,
right,
and that she may stay with Underdogs as a remote athlete.
Yeah.
And she says that in our interview. So just take that off the table.
Right.
Because Bethany is not a part of this. She has to make life decisions because she is getting married.
In 52 days.
Yes.
Right.
51 days now, probably.
Okay.
But yeah. Very soon.
And so she's doing that and she's moving to be with her husband once that happens. But she even says in that interview, she'll most likely stay with Underdogs because she has done better with them than she's done any time else in her career.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Andrew's commenting here about, he was wondering how Kotler was going to juggle coaching Danielle and Alex at the games. That wouldn't have been a problem. And remember, he's coaching Ricky too. I mean, we saw him and his team, because there's a team of coaches that they have in place at Underdogs. It's not just Justin. We saw them juggle Carrie, Bethany, DeLugos, and Danielle at West Coast. And it was not a problem at all. Like there were more coaches passes to go around than you would think. So I don't think that. And to answer Will's question, like they should have come out with what happened if they're going to release a statement. Again, because you don't know what happened, you're just going to have to trust the fact that both parties are being respectful of the other party.
They're being professional. They are.
Yes.
They're parting ways.
Right. And if what actually happened came out, it would be disparaging to one or the other. And it's not important enough to like ruin reputations for the fans, for us fans. Like we don't deserve any kind of explanation if it's not going to change, how we view the sport or the people and things like that. So I just think,
I think it's fair to just
people
say
are just nosy.
It wasn't the right fit anymore, and
right.
It's time to move on. It's bad timing, but it wasn't the right fit. Time to move on.
Right. Yeah.
So I think,
I think that was the most respectful way to handle it. Honestly,
the big question to move forward is, how does this impact Danielle going forward? You lose your coach 4 weeks before the games. You now still have to compete. You're going probably somewhere else to get at least a coach that you respect for the games. And that may just be a temp thing to get you through the next 4 weeks. How does that, everything I'm seeing is that she will take whatever happened and make it gas and use it as energy to go forward. But I don't think Danielle's problem has ever been having gas. I think her problem is controlling the gas.
But why does she doesn't necessarily need a coach? I mean, Matt never had a coach.
Right. He just had some people.
She's fit. Just go do what you do. And then,
she's good. Yeah. I mean, bottom line, she's going to be fine. Underdogs is going to be fine. Like, it's a sad breakup, I think, on both ends, but I don't, it's not, they'll be fine. And Underdogs is going to continue to be successful. And I think Danielle will continue to be successful.
Chris might be a good fit for her as a temp coach. Chris, who? Oh, hi, Brent.
And as far as her posting memes, Yash, like she's got a good sense of humor. She's trying to make light of the situation. I think there's hurt feelings probably on both sides, and it's just her way of dealing with it. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it does open the door for speculation, but what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, neither one is going to come out and say exactly what happened, and I don't blame them for that. Oh, aerobic capacity, Chris.
Henshaw.
Oh, yeah, Chris Henshaw. Got it. I almost said Hemsworth. Not
I don't know.
Him too.
Yeah. Chris is a very specific coach. I mean, he really is just
Yeah.
aerobic capacity. I don't know that he's looking to take on, a games athlete to be
And he does a lot
a caretaker.
With so
Yeah. I mean, word on the street is she's going to Florida. She's going to be with the brute folks. I think it's a good fit for her. I think, yeah, dumpster fire for sure, Brent. You just got to hope that she can move forward and continue to, work on the things that she needed to work on and, be awesome. Because I think she has huge potential. And no matter what happened, I know that, Justin and the Underdogs team also know and, want what's best for her.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So
they're good people all around. Yeah. So
we only have a few more minutes before Kat has to go coach. So let's talk about the documentary. First of all, have you guys seen it?
I have notes. Yes.
I'm about halfway through.
Okay.
So we agreed that we have fallen in love again with Brent Fikowski.
Oh my God. I mean, I haven't fallen out of love with him.
Yeah.
But he's a friend of the show. I've always liked Brent. So there's nothing that, yeah.
Hey, he's too tall. I can go either way.
Okay. I like it because he's too tall.
I mean, did you guys get to the part where he tears up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have not.
Okay. But my favorite part, which also made me even more of a Pat Vellner fan, just because I love his taunting to Justin Medeiros about, he was like, I'm going to need you to do a little bit worse because did you know I have a baby now?
Right.
Like, you're taking lunch money from my kid. And he said, do you want me to show you a picture of him before the next workout? I love that kind of trash talk. And it was
that was funny.
Yeah.
I have, my one big comment, my overarching comment was that it seemed as though the Adrian Bosman stuff was clearly added after the fact, right? Like it was supposed to be Dave talking about all that stuff. And it was clearly sort of insert Boz here and talk about it, is because it seemed to me like a very different Boz. An interesting comment that he made, and this goes back to, this is gonna bring up controversy, but it's gonna go back to the whole rope situation at Syndicate. Remember when I made the comment about timing and how important like things start on time, and that like they addressed in the morning about the length of the ropes, and even if they could, cut the ropes, it would have, we wouldn't have started on time and things would have snowballed, and there's a live stream and all this stuff. Bosman made a comment about starting on time. Like he was very proud of the fact that like the games were going well, but like he was like, yep. And we started on time. And it was just interesting to me that like, that is such a big piece of, if you go to the level 1, if you go to level 2, if you're on seminar staff, like keeping time, those guys have Apple Watches and like time frames for like your lecture 1 is 13.3 minutes long. And then like we huddle back up and do this or that. It's just an interesting common theme that I see throughout that was sort of emphasized that I caught on to in the movie. Yep.
Wasn't there a delay in one of the events?
Well, remember when we talked to Dave, and it was the clean running workout where they like changed the course last minute and they had like a sign issue. And Dave even admitted, he said, we put a lot of pressure on people, to keep a timeline. And he said, I think I probably piled on too much, work for them. And he was Bosman was referring to day 1, like out on the water in terms of like, we started on time and things like that. But it was just, it's a common theme that is interesting to note.
And I'm all about being on time. Like I totally appreciate running a tight ship and following time. But back to Syndicate, not when it comes to athlete safety.
Sure.
Well, I know Kat has to jump off here at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
And so, but we have a big day ahead. So if you have not seen the social media posts, in 30 minutes, we will be talking with Amanda Barnhart, 5-time CrossFit Games athlete who is coming off 3 consecutive top 10 finishes. We have been efforting her for 2 years, and we now have her this afternoon at 1:00 Eastern time. And then tonight at 9:00, before you go to bed, when you just need something to listen to as you're winding down, Ariel Lowen and her husband Dylan will be on with us talking about winning the Last Chance qualifier and keeping the fairy tale alive for another year, being a 2-time CrossFit Games champion, not champion, athlete. But yeah, so check those out today. And with that, we will see you next week on the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends.
Bye.